Hello friends, welcome to the Basics of Geography series. And this is our IS Conclave Institute, which provides you free as well as premium videos. And for updated videos, please subscribe our YouTube channel so that you can receive our notification. Now, this is our initiative Geography Incubation Series for Civil Services Examination, and especially for those students who lack command in their basics. So, at a similar session on similar series is running on our economic. Okay, so for that you have to subscribe our IS Conclave channel, and here I am Rohit Mandan here to facilitate you so that you can strengthen your basics on geography. Okay. Now look at the igneous texture. So in this session we will cover igneous textures. What can they tell us? So this, to understand the igneous textures, we will cover this question: identify and describe the 6 major igneous textures. So this can be asked in the UPSC exam as well, because this times in 2022 UPSC mains one question asked, what was the questions? Discuss the characteristic and types of the primary rocks. So what are the primary rocks? Primary rocks are the igneous rocks. So they can also ask the igneous texture. So this is very important and very interesting session. Okay, let's start. Now look at the types of the igneous textures. So these are the types. On what basis they are determined? What factor determine the textures of the igneous rock? We already have for like the cooling rate, then the silica content, and the last one is the dissolved gases. So these are the 3 factors or 3 driver of the igneous texture. So we already have covered the aphanetic and phaneritic textures, coarse grain or fine grain. Now today in this session we will cover the coarse grain texture. Okay, we have covered the aphanetic fine grain texture. Now we will cover the phaneritic coarse grain texture. So these textures we will cover in today's lecture. Okay. Now we will cover one by one in these sessions. So we will also cover the glassy or other textures. But now today we will cover this one is phaneritic coarse grain textures. Okay. So what are phaneritic textures? Phaneritic textures are coarse grain textures. Then how they form? Because the textures differ. How they form? What it is, by what it is determined? It will be a coarse grain or it will be a fine grain. I told you that the cooling rate is the predominant forces that determine the crystal shape. Okay. So if a magma erupt and it cool and solidified beneath the earth at a greater depth, so what will happen if any magma is solidified or cooling at a greater depth? Its cooling rate will be very slow or fast? Very slow. So cooling rate will be very slow. If cooling rate will be slow, it will impede or it will facilitate the movements of the ions. It will facilitate, because if the cooling rate is slow, ions move, okay, at a very duration of times. So ions का movement जो है वो बना रहेगा. Ions move continuously until they cool ultimately to form crystal minerals. Okay, so ions की movement बनी रहती है. So that's why I told you, that's why only few crystal nuclei form. Only few crystal nuclei form. So that's why only few जो crystal nuclei forms होते हैं, and that's why coarse grain mineral form in this slow cooling or in the intrusive igneous process. Okay. Now, when large mass of the magma slowly crystallize at a greater depth, they form igneous rocks that exhibit coarse grain textures and describe as phaneritic. Okay. Now, coarse grain जो rock है consist of the mass of the intergrown crystal. This is the intergrown. क्योंकि cooling rate is very slow, and because every mineral composition has a different crystallization rate, because we have already discussed the bovine reaction series. In bovine reaction series, notice that every minerals, okay, as per their melting point, if melting point is so high, so its crystallization rate is very fast. Okay. So melting point also determine the crystallization rate. Okay. So intergrown crystal, so because cooling is very slow, crystal starting formation, okay, crystallization start, and that are roughly equal in size and large enough to distinguish the individual minerals. What it means, let's discuss. So this is our granite rock. Okay, So this is our granite rock. So granite rock are formed under intrusive or extrusive. It formed under intrusive process. How you can tell? You can tell by seeing it, because you can easily identify the different composition or amalgamations of the minerals. Okay, so in this granite rock you can identify what is quartz mineral, Holbrand mineral, or feldspar. So we can easily identify with our naked eye. Okay, so that's why we can identify the environment, under which environment granitic rock are formed. So they are formed under extrusive or intrusive. They are formed under intrusive process. Okay, so this is how we can identify what type of this rock. This is phaneritic or phaneritic. We can identify this is phaneritic. Okay, why? Because we can identify the minerals. They have a different minerals. So what is this rock? This is basaltic or gabbro, because we know that the basaltic rock are fine grained, they form under the surface conditions. So this is gabbro. Okay, so when mafic composition, when mafic igneous compositions crystallize at a greater depth, it forms gabbro. When mafic igneous composition crystallize at a surface condition, like in the sea floor spreading. Okay, so this form basaltic rock. Okay, so this is how we can understand the phaneritic composition. Or in next lecture, in the next and upcoming lecture, we will cover others टेक्सचर्स, igneous textures. Okay, अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया तो प्लीज शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब और यूट्यूब चैनल. थैंक यू गाइस.